The Club Championship Show on OTB Sports in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Welcome along to the Club Championship Show here on OTB Sports, brought to you in association with AIB. 2 All-Ireland Club finals to look back on that had dramatic finishes at Croke Park last Saturday. We had 2 first-time All-Ireland champions who were crowned as well, and both achieved thanks to injury-time goals. Lots of drama to look back on. We're going to be joined by one of the key protagonists from the football final, Jerome Johnson, who scored that injury-time winner for Kilcoo, and we'll also be talking to Pauric Mahony of Ballygunner after they became the first club from Waterford to ever lift the Tommy Moore Cup. We're joined by a Tommy of a different variety. We've got Tommy Rooney from the Football Pod with us as well. Tommy, how you getting on?
Hey Will, what a weekend.
You can't beat the drama of those 2 games. Now, I'm not going to claim that either game was a particular classic over the 60 minutes or so until it went to injury time, but you couldn't have scripted them like 2 Hollywood movies in the end.
Yeah, like who cares? Like we got to say it is literally the worst way to lose, but it must be the best way to win. Like iconic stuff. Those goals are going down in history, particularly Harry Ruddle. Like, Harry Ruddle's goal is the stuff of legend. The Kilcoo goal comes from, I suppose, their whole story in that second half is their comeback and them dragging themselves back into that game, and a couple of lucky moments, we'll say, where they took their chance when it came to them. But Harry Ruddle, like Ballygunner stayed in the game, Harry Ruddle made that. Like, that is Roy the Rover stuff. Taking that ball 50 yards from goal. He's bloody 40 yards out when he scores it. Like, it's just absolutely insane. I was out for dinner Saturday night, Will, so I had the rugby on a big screen and I had the football and the hurling on the small phone at dinner, so I wasn't the greatest company for about 25 minutes there when it was all going on. But
what a Valentine's Day Tommy Rooney is. I was in work, so I had an actual excuse to be watching both games. I had 2 TVs on the go in the office, so the club finals my right hand side, rugby to the left, and yeah, a high drama. Let's hear about the goal then, because this is fantastic commentary from Kieran O'Connor on Waterford Local Radio. It picks up around about the point that Ruddle picks up the ball about 50 yards from goal.
Inside the 45, Coughlin tries to get his hand on it, but they win it back. Ian Kenny, he's been outstanding today, gives it to Paddy Levy. He too has done himself proud, and he wins the ball. Great play by Levy. Levy scoops it to Peter Hogan. What can they do? The time is against them, but is the scoreboard against them? Ball goes on inside. Harry Ruddle in space inside the D. What's Harry going to do? Takes a shot. Harry Ruddle! Number 17 on his back. Will that back be framed out in Jack Meads tonight? That jersey could be framed. It deserves to be framed. As Darragh O'Sullivan, that's the jig. Is it all over? Is the last puck in the game? Oh my God! Harry Ruddle, write his name down. You'll forget it. James O'Connor goes on his knees. Ballygunner, All-Ireland champions 2022.
Ruddle of the Rovers was one of the headlines in the newspapers on Sunday after that goal from Harry Ruddle, coming 64 minutes into the game to hand Ballygunner their first ever All-Ireland club title success. Delighted to say that Pauric Mahony, who scored 7 points for Ballygunner at the weekend, is with us now. Pauric, I'd imagine that almost sends shivers when you listen to that commentary, listening back to the last moment of the game, and Harry Ruddle makes himself a hero forevermore in your parish.
Yeah, it's probably after watching that, I listened to that clip probably about 20 or 30 times over the last 3 or 4 days. Look, we're just ecstatic. It's it really is just a dream come true, and I suppose the memories that we're after making over the last number of years, but even the last couple of days since, it's been incredible. And I suppose what it's done for the community in Ballygunner too, bringing everyone together. And obviously Harry's going to be a famous man in Ballygunner for a long time.
Look, he's a famous man because you held your nerve in injury time as well, because it would have been easy in that circumstance. You see that you've gone into the last minute of injury time if you look up at the clock, and then the temptation would have been there when the ball breaks in the middle of the field to try and put it in long and see if you can get a break. But that ball was worked right through the middle of the field, and he produces just the most magnificent finish. He pretty much couldn't have hit that ball any better.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of said. We spoke about it the week leading into the game, that no matter what happens, we're going to stick to the process, stick to the game plan. And I think that, the goal, obviously at the end, the way Ian Kenny worked it, Paddy Levy onto Peter to onto Harry, that really was our game. But it's working that sharp ball, and obviously, like you say, we could easily just lash the ball in and hope to get a break off off him. But no, we stuck to the game plan, stuck to the process, and obviously, just Harry's finish then was incredible.
It was always going to take.
Where were you watching from, Pauric? What was your line of vision like? What was your line of vision like for that goal?
Yeah, I think I was around at this stage. I just said, here, I'm going into. I think I went into the full forward line, and just said, if a ball comes in, or see what we can do from that. And then, as Harry was coming in, I think himself and Dessie Hutchinson, we kind of two of us kind of veered off to the. I went to one side, he went to the other. Kind of left the kind of the gap through the centre. So yeah, I was about 20 yards out from Harry's shot. So he couldn't believe it when it hit the net.
When the ball leaves the stick, are you thinking, why have you not passed this one pass more?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think if Harry went any further with it, he was going to run into Ballyhale bodies. So he had to get the shot off there, or else he would probably been fouled, and then the goal chance would have been gone. So yeah, like, it really, I suppose it was kind of a hit and hope, but he, as he said himself after the game in the interview, he kept it low, and obviously as a keeper, they'll all tell you that they're the hardest shots to save. So yeah, I don't know how he done it.
It was always going to take something special to beat that Ballyhale team, though. 29 games unbeaten in knockout competition over the last 4 seasons. We saw them this year as well, where they looked like they were dead and buried in a couple of games. You were probably doing the right thing, making sure you hit them with the very last attack. Yeah,
I think so. Look, on Ballyhale, they're just an incredible team. They've set the standards for everyone in Ireland over the last 10, 15 years at least, anyways, and obviously beyond that too. But I think they, as a club, I think is it 8 All-Irelands they have as a club team. It's an incredible, they're an incredible club, and obviously for ourselves to get over the line against Ballyhale, it's probably out of respect for Ballyhale, it's probably the sweetest way it could possibly have happened, because playing a team of that caliber with the every line you look through it, there's all our medals in every single position, obviously, and they're just an incredible team, really, really nice people too. Yeah, and we're just so happy, I suppose, just for ourselves really at this stage that we did get over the line.
You used the phrase getting over the line. Is it relief at full time as well? Because we saw some of the emotional scenes that it took so much to get to this All-Ireland final, winning 8 Waterfords in a row, winning 2 of the last 3 Munsters, coming close to what could have been 3 Munsters in a row after a battle against Barcelona. You've been like really close to getting to this point before. To actually get over the line must be something really special with this group of players, notwithstanding those who've come in over the last couple of years, to join with those of you that have been around for a lot of that 8 in a row.
Yeah, and I think, look, maybe, I know we obviously added another Munster to this year, but we probably looked at the start of this year and said if we didn't, add another, whether it's a Munster or an All-Ireland, we probably would, go down as underachievers. And in a way, we kind of said this is the last throw of the dice really for a lot of us, because there's only certain amount of times you can keep coming back, and after defeats year on year. So yeah, like, it's obviously for ourselves now that we always were saying if we got one, we'd be happy. But I suppose the emotion after the game, you that adrenaline rush that you get, you kind of want more of that now. And so it's hopefully we can kick on again and see what happens next year.
You mentioned the fact that there was no panic at any stage in the game. You're 3 points down at half time, 10-7. Then Owen Reid gets that goal, which was kind of swept to the net on the ground, despite the defenders who were there. You go 5 points down at that point with about 15 minutes to go on the clock, and you're even 3 points down with 9 minutes to go. But yet, you still kind of trusted in the process, as you said at the outset. There was no panic or no trying to push for goals, even when you found yourselves 5 points down.
Yeah, that's it. And look, we done a lot of visualisation, as I said, in the week building into the game, about the different scenarios that we could face. And one of them would have been that if we did, if we were 3 points down with 5 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go, what were we going to do? And, making sure that we're making the right decisions. And at half time, obviously, we were 3 down. And, when we were reflecting on it with the team at half time, we were kind of saying, like, there's a lot of opportunities there. We just need to be a little bit more clinical. Our execution was letting us down. We were working the ball into good areas. But so we knew in the second half, like, obviously, that this is it now. We kind of just said to ourselves, whatever happens here, just let's not go down wanting and asking, during this week, kind of saying to ourselves, like, we could have done this, we could have done that. Let's just leave everything we have out there. And I think we did that. And that's probably why we stuck in there. And obviously, we didn't. The plan wasn't that we were going to wait till last puck of the game, but we just take any way it comes now at this stage.
Did you take any inspiration from the manner in which Ballyhale Shamrocks stole it at the death against St Thomas's Pauric?
Yeah, like, and that's the incredible team that Ballyhale are. You know, they were dead and buried in numerous times this year, and they kept going right to the final whistle. And we were saying that to ourselves, that no matter what happens, if we're winning a puck of a ball, which we were, we're still there with a chance. So definitely we did. You know, I think any team, there was if we learned anything from the club championship this year, is that, you know, it's not over till the final whistle, and that's what we stuck at it right till the end ourselves, and thankfully it paid off.
The goals a little earlier in that game were massive as well. Sorry, Will. Like Stephen O'Keefe makes a Gordon Banks-esque save before it just gets knocked in underneath Barry Coughlin, the rebound. But Desi Hutchinson's goal, like, there's a killer instinct there when that ball comes into him. Like, there's sometimes when you're watching hurling, it's a bit mad that it can be left 2-on-2 inside with forwards as lethal as Desi inside. But when he wins that ball and he turns and he buries it, that must be, when you're looking back in that game, and I'm sure you've watched it a few times, that must be one of the moments of the match that are so important.
Yeah, like, for not the first time this year, or I'm sure it won't be the last either, that Desi's, you know, he's pulled out the big moments when needed. And obviously on Saturday, you know, I think, I'm not sure to get 1-4, 1-5 from playing an All-Ireland club final. The man is just he's a freak of nature, really, and his work rate as well probably goes unnoticed at times. You know, the pressure he's applying on defenders, he must be just an absolute nightmare for any defender to mark, because he's able to do it every way, you know. And I suppose the one thing that we hadn't really seen him do much was, you know, winning a high ball. I mean, he certainly plucked one out of the sky for the goal on Saturday.
He's such a big game player. I think back to the Munster final against Kilmallock, where he was at his full force in that game. He's had some huge games for Waterford over the last couple of years as well. For both club and county, what an addition to get him back a couple of years ago. Yeah, like, obviously when Desi came back from the soccer straight away, the rest of us were learning so much from even the way just he I suppose he was preparing himself for trainings, you know, in terms of pre-warm-ups and stuff like that. We were all learning, listening, asking as many questions as possible. And, you know, I suppose we're just really, really fortunate that he came back at a stage for a fella, I think he was 6 years without holding hurley, basically. And how quickly he picked it up. It's just, he's a freak of nature. He can put his hand to anything, I think. He's not a bad golfer. Obviously, he has the soccer, Gaelic. He seems to be able to do whatever. I hate guys like that. I was listening to Derek McGrath on League Sunday on Sunday evening as well, and he was just speaking about what this might mean for Waterford hurling as well, given that the club had never got to the top of the tree and lifted the Tommy Moore before. Is this not just for you guys in Ballygunner when you go back into play with the county, but for those within the county itself, given all the heartbreak that you've had to endure coming close over the last 5 or 6 years particularly? How much of a lift is this for hurling now in Waterford to have an All-Ireland club champion? Yeah, hopefully it's a massive lift for Waterford in general, because and the support that we got in Ballygunner over the last, you know, couple of weeks, from Munster finals, All-Ireland semi-finals, and obviously again on Saturday from the whole of Waterford, you know, it was really felt from right through the team, and hopefully now that will kind of, you know, knowing that, you know, if you do put in the work, and we know that there's a very, very talented group of players there at Waterford, so hopefully that, you know, getting over the line with Ballygunner, people will, you know, maybe able to say, well, you know what, actually, if we do it, we get ourselves to an All-Ireland semi-final, get ourselves to an All-Ireland final, that we can get over the line. So hopefully, yeah, we can take some inspiration from Saturday into the county setup. Pauric, your journey with Ballygunner, like, it's top of the mountain that you've got to, and it's been a long time coming, as Will mentioned earlier on. And I think a lot of people were delighted to see you get the win. In that sense, like, it's been so many Waterford titles. You know, there's plenty of clubs around the country at club and hurling level that are probably looking on. Not that many, but there are clubs in certain counties saying, how can we get to Ballygunner and Ballyhale Shamrocks level? When did you first have a conversation in Ballygunner about getting to an All-Ireland club final and getting over the line in that regard? When did that start for you? Did it start all the way back in 2009, or was it before that? Probably, I said, really in the last couple of years, we kind of said to ourselves, you know what, the belief was there that we can, you know, that we have a really, really talented group of people here, a hard-working group of people. And there's obviously a really nice blend of mix between the youth and the experienced lads now within the team. So the younger lads, they're the ones kind of driving the things to another new level. But obviously this year, at our first meeting of the year, we would have set out, we said at our stall right from that first meeting that we had this year, that we
we wanted to go and win this All Ireland, and we were going to do everything possible. Every single decision that we make, from whether it's day-to-day stuff, whether it's in the gym, whether it's our recovery after training, whether it's when we're in the pitch, that we were going to just do everything possible. And if hopefully it's enough to get us to where we want to be. And thankfully we did it, and it all paid off. And it just shows, I suppose, that it justifies to ourselves that all the sacrifice we made for the last, I suppose really since last probably February, March time of last year, that it pays off.
How much have you been able to actually enjoy the last few days then? Because I'm sure Saturday was just elation, to use your phrase, about getting over the line. What have the last 3 or 4 days been like then?
Yeah, I suppose the crowd of people that were around for a couple of days there was just unreal, and I suppose everyone kind of just still hasn't really sunk in, probably for most people yet. But I suppose it was only kind of the last maybe 48 hours when you're kind of just with the lads and you're kind of getting to kind of have a proper chat about it, and these kind of believe, oh my God, like it's just, I suppose it's a dream has become a reality. And every single person up there, from the background team, the medical staff, right down to all the players on the pitch, everyone made the same amount of sacrifice, the same amount of effort went into it. And I suppose then you're kind of just reflecting on it and kind of excited nearly to go and do it again, and make the same sacrifices, and hopefully, that you can get back and obviously try and retain the Waterford Championship this year. And then who knows after that.
Sometimes it's only when you reflect a few days or maybe a few weeks later you realise the absolute scenes there were in Croke Park at the end of the game. Like, we all saw pictures of grown men crying from the backroom team, some of the players who were crying at full time as well. I've no doubt the drama of the last minute goal probably added to that as well, but you can tell by those scenes how much it actually means to get yourself a first ever title. Yeah,
like I suppose I think I kind of had like an out-of-body experience myself when the final whistle went. I just didn't know what to do. It was 1 minute I was running around, just like looking up to heaven, and 1 minute then you were crying, next minute you're just laughing, hugging people. It's just every type of emotion that you think possible, I suppose, came out on that pitch on Saturday. And I suppose that's what it means to us. And people like Fergal Hartley, for example, who would have given so much to Ballygunner, still do. Seeing the likes of them people on coming down to the pitch side after the game, like it just, I suppose all of us were swelling up with tears and of joy, and just I suppose a bit of shock as well because of the circumstances of with the last minute goal. Like obviously the goal went in, next all of a sudden the final whistle is blown, and it just happened all so fast then at that stage. But unbelievable memories.
I have 2 quick ones for you, Pauric. First one, was it the best Monday club ever?
I think it was, yeah. It was certainly the busiest Monday club I was ever involved in anyways.
Because there was no footage coming out of Ballygunner on Twitter, but we definitely got a couple of videos coming out of Kilcoo and Quinsbar and Newcastle the other night. So you kept it quiet, so fair play.
Yeah.
And the other one, can you, like, talking about Kilcoo, like the family connections in Kilcoo are so evident. Like, we're going to be talking about the Brannigans, and we're talking to Jerome Johnson in a few minutes. Can you talk to us about your own family connections, right? So you've got 3 brothers with you, you've got your uncles, you've got cousins on your own team. Like Darrell Sullivan's involved. Is he an uncle of yours? And then on the Ballyhale side as well, your cousins to the Reeds as well. Could you talk us through that family situation at the weekend for you guys in Ballygunner?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's obviously makes it super special, obviously, to win in them circumstances with your family and friends, beside you. And obviously, from myself and Philip, it's probably looking at the likes of Michael and Kevin and what they've done this year, and the impact that they're having. And I suppose standing up as, Kevin's 19 years of age, and, I had some really big moments again in the All-Ireland final the other day. I suppose it's just you just feel so proud at what they are doing now. And obviously the likes of Shane, and I'm not sure Shane, he'll kill me for saying it, but I think he's 36 years of age now. And doing what he's doing, like, it's just he's a freak of nature, really, and how he looks after his body still. And obviously for someone like him, after giving so many years and years, for that to actually happen for him, it must, for him especially, he could easily have, maybe taken an easier option over the last couple of years, maybe, and saying, look, I've done enough now at this stage, at 33 or 4. But no, he stays going, and hopefully now he'll stay going for another year.
Pauric, one last one for you. Saw a tweet at the weekend. You remember going viral back 6 years ago now at this stage, after an All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny, and Jennifer Malone was straight over to commiserate with you at full time when it was a very difficult defeat to take that night in Thurles. She was back beside you at Croke Park on Saturday when you were doing the lap of honour with the cup. Lovely moment to be able to go over and say hello to her in her Ballygunner jersey at full time?
Yeah, obviously, look, all the moments that we can have after these games they're special, and obviously, is a couple of people are saying to it, we've come a long way since that maybe 2016 defeat to Kilkenny in the All-Ireland semi-final, and obviously the difference in emotions from that even to what we would have experienced on Saturday are just obviously on a different scale. And obviously nice for Jennifer there. I know she had the Ballygunner jersey on, signed by all the Ballygunner team as well. So a lot of very happy people in the stand on Saturday evening.
Moments you're never going to forget. Pauric, thanks a million for joining us on the Club Championship show.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Cheers, Pauric.
So there you go, Tommy. Elation. We'll be talking about the football Kilcoo in a moment, but I think the nature of it as well probably adds to the success for both teams too, because we mentioned it last week when we were chatting to Stephen O'Keefe, a lot of the recent hurling finals, 7 of the last 10 were decided by 8 points or more. You probably had to go to Cooley against Napiercy a few years ago, which was a really tight final in 2018, but outside that we had a few blowouts, and Ballyhale were actually responsible for a few of them. Last weekend, even when it looked like at one stage Ballyhale might stretch out and they went 5 points up, that game stays close, and then Ballygunner produced the most dramatic of finishes possible. It guarantees that probably everyone in Ballygunner is going to buy a DVD of the final. That number 17 jersey, I'm dying to know where it's going to end up. I know Kieran O'Connor on the WLR commentary was saying it may well end up framed and in one of the pubs at the end of it. I think if I'm Harry Ruddle, I'm not letting go of that jersey.
Yeah, it's hard to know what Harry Ruddle does there. We need to sit Harry Ruddle down in 3 months' time and say, what's it been like for the last 3 months, and just get a blow-by-blow, day-by-day account of what life has been like. I think you're right, Will. I think you mentioned the outpouring of emotion there after both games, and that's what it's all about. That's when the split season is brought in and the club finals are given their, I suppose, the bit of coverage. We've got plenty of games over the last 8, 9, 12 weeks on TV, loads of coverage, loads of stories coming to the fore, press events and players coming out and chatting about various bits and pieces. And that's what it's all about. It's about the narrative and the stories. And Kilcoo's journey and Ballygunner's journey, they both were so similar in the sense that they've been on the road, they've been dominating their own counties, but they just haven't been able to get over the line at the very, very, very end. And the manner in which they both did it, it's a freak that they both won it the way they did with last-minute goals. It's absolutely sensational. But you couldn't script it. That's just amazing. Especially for club hurling and club football. In terms of going viral on social media, they were up against the rugby at the weekend, which was probably tough in terms of TV viewing.
I actually think,
but those clips must have been viewed over and over and over again, and they'll never, that'll always be talked about.
Yeah, the clips are crazy, and we'll talk about Mickey Moran going down to kiss the spot where Johnson put his goal in from, which I thought was a fantastic clip as well. But I think the GA missed a trick last weekend. I think they should have flipped the order around. So Saturday should have been the league day for Division 1 of the Hurling League, and then Sunday afternoon should have been left preserved for the 2 games at Croke Park. I think they got them the wrong way around, because I know a lot of people who were watching the hurling and then next thing the venue they were in, or if they're at home, switched to the rugby at 4:45. So a lot of people maybe missed the football live or only tuned in when extra time was on at the end of the rugby. Well, I think it would have been better if the club had had its own run on the Sunday afternoon. And I know there were some texters into us on News Talk on Saturday, had some very good ideas. One that came in was there's going to be a bank holiday now for St. Bridget's Day from next year, that if it doesn't quite work out that the club championships are finished in the calendar year, and I know that's the plan for 2022, but these things often go in flux when you look at the actual calendar working out, that if we end up putting the club semi-finals and final the far side of Christmas, that first weekend in February when that bank holiday is on might actually be the perfect time to give them their own day. Because one of the things I used to love about the All-Ireland finals on St. Patrick's Day, Tommy, they had no competition from anything else. People were sitting down on a public holiday and for the best part watching the finals on the TV or in Croke Park. They got a little bit lost in the shuffle last weekend.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was the thing about St. Patrick's Day, and we know we can't drag it out that long. It doesn't make sense to keep it going that long. I think you're spot on. I think that's a great idea, whoever that texter was. If it does come to fruition, if it doesn't, it just needs a little bit of tweaking. I just think it does need a little bit of tweaking. There's so much untapped potential there on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram with those stories and the clips and what we're seeing come out of those games, because we want people around the world to see the emotion and what it means to these clubs and these parishes, because that's what sport's about. It's about the stories off the pitch, and that's what Kilcoo and Ballygunner have given us. They've given us unbelievable narratives, and I think for a while there we were spoiled by the amazing teams that we were seeing, the likes of Dublin. We're seeing it now with Limerick. We're seeing it with Ballyhale Shamrocks. And it became nearly routine that these teams were winning over and over again. And it's just kind of been blown out. Like, it's just been blown up since then. Like, it's been completely changed. Like, Tyrone winning the All-Ireland last year, out of nowhere. Kilcoo finally getting it done, and Ballygunner finally getting the job done.
Yeah, like I love so many of the stories going into last weekend. No matter what happened, there's going to be history in the hurling. You either end up with a team going to 9 All-Irelands and 3 in a row, it's never been done before, or Ballygunner win their first. In the second final in the football, you've got farmers from County Down up against city dwellers in Kilmacud Crokes. You've got, Crokes, a team who are also football royalty, going for their third title, up against the Kilcoo team, who are the recent coming force, having won their first Ulster a couple of years ago, having been to an All-Ireland final and lost in extra time. We'll talk to Jerome about it in a moment, but I can only imagine what it must have felt like for them to be going into extra time again. Surely you start to have a little bit of mental scarring from 2 years previously when you went to extra time. But Kilcoo went and got the job done.
It'll be interesting to ask about that, because I thought Kilcoo were at their most impressive against Finbars in extra time. Like, they really stood up that day. Conor Laverty came back on the field, and the manner in which he managed that game was sensational. And again at the weekend, like, Kilmacud Crokes were in a strong position in extra time. They tried to kill the game against the wrong team. Like, Kilcoo had absolutely nothing to lose, and they chased them. It was like a hyena chasing its prey towards the end when Conor Ferris was coming out that ball. They saw their chance and they absolutely pounced on him. Like, it's all well and good saying you'll come back again. Like, it's incredible the way Kilcoo and Ballygunner have come back again and again and again to win their club titles. It's not that easy. We spoke to Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue about it this week, about the sniffs they may have got around that. Like, James O'Donoghue's never won a club title in Kerry. I couldn't believe that. I was sure the Killarney Legion had got that far. They hadn't. Bridget's and Paddy Andrews had that one run in 2011 when they got to the Leinster final and they lost to Gary Castle. They never got a chance again at that. Like, so for a lot of clubs, you only get this chance. And I'd say Kilcoo and Ballygunner both felt like maybe we're getting towards the end of our journey here. If we don't get this job done now, will we ever get a better chance?
Well, look, there was a pot of gold at the end of it for Kilcoo last weekend. Jerome Johnson, who scored 1-1, and crucially, that goal in injury time of extra time to secure the win. Kilcoo coming through in the end by just a single point. 2 goals and 8 to Kilmacud's 13 points after extra time. Delighted to say that Jerome is with us now. Jerome, have you put your hand in your pocket since Saturday after scoring that goal?
Not very many times.
You've no voice either.
Pardon?
You've no voice either, Jerome. Tuesday club must have been as good as Monday, was it?
Tuesday, and listen, the Solon still they want to keep it going for the rest of the week. They said they missed the nights out for Christmas on an Ulster head, so they're trying to bring them all together at the one time. But I don't know if there's many more days left for me.
Tell us about the moment that you put the ball into the net then, because this is probably one of the most special moments of your life, aside from maybe the children coming along and so on within the family. But in terms of what happens on the football field, your brother takes the shot after you guys have got the ball back. It rebounds back off the deflection into your path. Some people might question whether one foot was inside the square when you were following it in, but you catch the ball and you dispatch it to the net. What's going through your head in those few moments from the ball bouncing into your path to the moment that the net ripples in front of Hill 16?
As soon as I seen it coming, I was thinking, do I just catch it on the volley here? And then I was like, no, I need to take the time here. I want to be sure on this one, because sometimes if you go low in them situations, or if you pull on it, it can go anywhere. And a senior guy coming across and says the best thing to do here is probably catch it and go high, because that's where he's least likely to be able to get to. And look, as I said, it went in, and I was very, very lucky to be in a position like that. As you said, it's probably somebody said it's probably one of the easiest but best goals that you could ever get to score for a forward, because you're sort of half open net, you know what I mean?
Did you consciously stay out of the square, Jerome? Like, does that stay in your head as you're in and around the goals?
To stay out of the square?
Like, was it in your head, I've got to stay out of the square here?
Just whenever it's coming in, I was just running in. Actually, I put the brakes on to stop at the square. I sort of forgot for a second that just in case it doesn't, and just at different times, I would have stayed out of the square in different games, just in case, if it ever does happen, there'd be nothing worse than the ball would fall to you, put it in the back of the net, and the next thing been done for a square ball. So it's something just over the years you probably got, conscious to.
We were...
A lot of credit has to go to Shailen. Like, have you spoken? Have you got him in a brotherly headlock and said, "Well done, boy, for taking them on and picking out that pass"? Because like when the ball does land into his arms, there's a lot of work to do before he gets it into yourself and Ryan.
There was, and look, listen. As soon as Aaron kicked the Shailen, that's when I took off running, because I knew he would be heading towards the goals at that stage. And that's the one thing about Shailen. He has pace and tricks. So he was definitely going to come for it, and I was going to take a good man to keep up with him. And I know people's very harsh on Kilmacud number 5 in terms of saying he should have pulled him down, but the fella's probably thinking too, this fella's on his weak foot. There's 3 or 4 of us closing in on him here. You know, if I pull him down, I'm going to give them a free. There's still a minute and a half left. They could get another one. I think look, in hindsight, it was the wrong thing, but at the time, he had done everything right. He had sent him down an alleyway on his weak side. You know, he obviously underestimated Shailen's ability to pick a pass out. And, like, listen, as I said, it was a super pass to Ryan, and Shailen has to get a lot of credit for that move.
We were chatting to Pauric Mahony a bit earlier about Ballygunner and the way they won, which is just so similar to what happened to you guys, where it's just that last strike and that last goal which wins the game right at the end. But there was something very similar as well, that you guys didn't panic at any stage when you found yourselves behind either. And I'm even thinking towards the end of normal time, when the game goes level and even when you were a point down, there was no real kind of trying to force the ball into the forward line at any stage. Like, I was almost screaming at the TV at one point for Conor Laffey to have a shot when he was out on the right hand side at the end of normal time. But you were happy to kind of recycle the ball, make sure it went to the player in the right position to actually take a shot. There was no real sense of panic in that second half when you came back into it.
No, I think that's something Mickey's definitely developed in terms of patience and, you know, waiting till the opening comes rather than force the play and taking half shots on. Now, look, if it had run a bit more time, but look, it's better to have the ball, creating an opening, than be chasing the ball, especially coming down, into the latter stages of a game when you're behind. So when we have the ball, it's still in our control. So I think we were aware we're a point down here, you know, the ball, that you can't play without it, and there's no point giving it away soft.
What was the conversation like at half-time, Jerome, when you've scored only 2 points, and maybe there's that feeling that even at that stage the game could have slipped away, given that Kilmacud were 6 points up and you guys had missed a few goal chances in front of goal in that first half as well. Was there a big inquiry at half-time? Because I heard a few of the interviews afterwards, lads were saying it was nearly the first time that Mickey had actually lost the head with you.
It was. We'd come in at half-time, and I think out of the nine wides we had, you know, we knew that we left 1/6 of it behind us, which was a 1/6 which in any other day we would have taken. And the thing that set in for us, and lucky we're out the right side now, we felt like we were complacent getting into the game, and probably like Kilmacud's a phenomenal team, and we probably had taken for granted a wee bit. And you know yourself, once you do that, Kilmacud come out, they're a phenomenal team, and they were putting us on the back foot straight away. And I think at half-time we were in shock, really. We were just sitting there, we didn't know what to say or do. You know, we were 6 points down in All-Ireland final, and it was a really weird changing room. And Mickey, as you know, some of the guys said, it was the first time you could see in his face how disappointed he was in us by the things he said and stuff. And sort of at the time, you know, it gave us it was probably the reality check we needed, because in that situation, he needed to let us know what he really felt, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you get a manager come in and tell you, look, we were unlucky with these kind of stuff, and that wasn't the way it was. He was very, very honest about it. And we could see that ourselves, and we knew we had played absolutely nothing. As I said, in the second half, we knew we would come back a little bit, but whenever that mindset was there from the first half, it was probably the only way you could go about trying to change it, you know?
When did you sense, you mentioned complacency there, Jerome, like And I know you're probably scratching your head and saying, how could we be complacent? But how could you be complacent going in to face a team like Kilmacud Crokes? Like, when did you sense that?
I think, look, we knew we'd played a lot of good football throughout the championship. And just, look, listen, it was in every paper, it was in everywhere. Oh, Kilcoo's going to do this, they're going to win this. And, you know, we had never played Kilmacud before. We had played St Jude's in a match, who Kilmacud had played. Just definitely things that we had felt we'd done well, do you know what I mean? And get good results from things. And that probably aided a bit to the complacency that came in. And looking back, we would never ever take Emily for granted the game, because they're an unbelievable team and the best team we played all year.
That's a hard thing to kick mid-match. Like, it's a hard thing to switch, that kind of mindset. Like, I know it sounds like a little bit like the coverage, or maybe it might have just softened you the smallest amount, but you're such a incredible group from what you've done over the last 8 or 9 years. Like, how did you switch it?
As I said, I think it was how honest Mickey was with us at half-time that enabled it. We had to go, you know, when you thought about it and when you were taking them things in, it probably had to realise, what are we doing here? Or what even give us the right to think to take a team like this? You know, in this situation, we're in a game, and as you said there, it's so hard to get back. We put a lot of effort in for 2 years to get back this situation, and we just took a minute, and I think everybody just had to get angry with themselves and angry, get things to annoy them, to, you know, drive them on and go out and put a performance in the second half, because it is a tough thing, a mindset. It's a very tough mindset to change, especially, as you say, mid-game. You know, we didn't want to look back after and say, we've left that behind us, and as you know yourself, you might never have gotten back.
Did you relish the idea of going to extra time? Because you think back about Cara Finn, and last week Paul Devlin was saying to us that was huge motivation, that you felt you didn't perform as well as you could have in extra time 2 years ago when you played them at Croke Park. You were battle hardened coming through Glen, coming through Finbars, having to go through extra time in that semi-final. What was your feeling when the whistle goes after 60 odd minutes and you know you're going to extra time? Were you relishing the idea of going for another 20, or what was the feeling in the camp?
No, listen, I think, you know, once you start to experience it, like a couple of times and that, we were good to go for extra time, and we were delighted to be in a position that we're going to get the opportunity at it. Like, whenever we seen extra time coming, we knew that we had a chance, and, you know, we'd won all year at extra time. I think 4 of our championship games had went to extra time. So, and we trained extremely tough, and like every night we were finishing training, even if it was a tough training throughout, every night at the end there was always a set of runs to finish, and I think those kind of things stood for you. But whenever you have put in the work, and you know, and the fitness is there, it doesn't really bother you going the extra time.
If I can ask you about Mickey Moran, because there's a couple of moments after the game which I thought were lovely. So Aidan Brannigan, Conor Lafferty go up into the Huggins stand and they get ready to lift the American Cup. They then shout down for Mickey to come up and actually to be part of that presentation within the stand. Also, after you've lifted the cup, Mickey Moran, and the first thing he did actually was go over to Kilmacud and commiserate with all of their management, but he goes to the area where you picked up the ball before you put the ball into the net, and he gives Croke Park a little kiss, which I thought was glorious for, you know, a man who was determined to get over the line and get himself in All-Ireland with all the rest of the success he's had in his coaching career. How much does Mickey Moran mean to you guys with the management he's given you over the last few years?
What Mickey Moran has done for each and every one of us, and even for the Kilcoo club as a whole, it's probably hard to put into words. Like, you know, we had never even won an Ulster title before Mickey Moran arrived. Never mind thinking of winning an All-Ireland title. Look, it's probably hard to put into words what he's brought. Probably his man management is probably. I've never seen anybody, you know, to having it down to a T as well as he has, and just the way he talks the game out, and, you know, the knowledge he gives you of the game probably helps you to perform better in matches and in situations. you know, just there's different things that he would say that beforehand the game, and then it starts to come out, or different things. Like when Mickey Moore says, "There's a goal chance coming, be ready." There's never once he said that it hasn't happened. Do you know what I mean?
Jerome, I have one last question before we let you go back to the celebrations, because everyone asked me to ask this. If you got someone up from Kilcoo, find this out on Wednesday. Eugene Brannigan wearing the leggings during the match, because he whipped them off pretty much straight away, and he wasn't even wearing them for the interviews afterwards. Nobody asked him on BBC or on TG Carr about why he wears the leggings. Can you give us a bit of insight? Why is he wearing them?
I think it's just to keep his legs warm. Like, it isn't. He's playing the football of his life there as well. So look, if the leggings are helping him and it's making him feel comfortable, then keep the leggings on. But as you said, I didn't even notice that he took them off for accident. I think he did that one of the other games as well. maybe that means once he takes them off, he's getting down to business. You know.
Some man.
And what about the odd boots? The same man. Brannigan wears the odd boots as well, doesn't he? One Nike and one Adidas.
I think what he does is there's holes out of his other boots, so they were just the two good ones that were left, so he just combined the two. No, I'm only joking. It's a strange one, but look, as I said, everyone should start doing it if we're getting up and down the field as well as Eugene. You know?
I've no doubt there's going to be kids in Kilcoo wearing odd boots and wearing leggings into the future after he broke new ground for the club as he became All-Ireland champions for the first time. Jerome, thanks a million for sharing us the story of the last few days, and good luck getting ready for the Down Championship coming around this summer as you try and retain that title and go on another All-Ireland journey. Thanks a million.
Thanks, lads. Cheers. Take care.
Our congratulations to both Kilcoo and to Ballygunner. Just before we go, a reminder of the fixtures which are coming up this weekend. We're going to be having a Camogie special next week. So across Saturday and Sunday in the All-Ireland Camogie semi-finals, sponsored by AIB, 3 of the last All-Ireland champions will be in action. You've got Sarsfields versus Schlockneal on Saturday, and then the defending champions, Oulart the Bala, go up against Scariff of Clare on Sunday afternoon. And looking forward to that game on tomorrow night's Off the Ball will be Ursula Jacob of Oulart the Bala. She is going to join Nathan to preview the games this weekend, and we'll be looking back on both semi-finals and towards the All-Ireland finals on next week's show. Tommy, thanks a million for joining us on the show today.
Cheers, Will. Enjoyed that.
And that's our lot on the Club Championship show. It's been brought to you by AIB. If you've missed the show, you can listen to the podcast on the OTB Sports app. It is in the GA stream. And of course, you can watch back the entire show on the Off the Ball YouTube as well. We'll speak to you next Wednesday morning.
The Club Championship show on OTB Sports in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. #the toughest.